Hello, it's time once again for another Living Hope Today study. I want to welcome you in the name of Jesus Christ and thank you for being here. And today we find ourselves in 1 Samuel 5 and 6. Something's happening in Israel. These guys have come up with their own idea. They're going to go attack the Philistines. Well, they lost. 34,000 people have died. In the process, the corrupt priesthood has been eliminated. Hophni and Phinehas, the sons of Eli, have died. So has Eli died as he falls off his chair and breaks his neck. And the end of the sequence ends with the Ark of the Covenant of God has been captured by the Philistines. And as a woman dies in childbirth, she names her son Ichabod, saying, "The glory has departed." So, 1 Samuel now takes us on a journey to help us understand the power of God to defend himself in these kinds of settings. Look at this. 1 Samuel 5, after the Philistines had captured the Ark of God, they took it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. That's a Philistine town. Then they carried the Ark into Dagon's temple and set it beside Dagon. Who's Dagon? Well, that's their god. That's what they call him. So they have a temple to him. They go in and they worship. We've already talked about how all of the captured land that Israel now occupies was occupied by pagan idolatry. Well, here we have an example. The Philistines are worshiping Dagon in Dagon's temple, and they think, hey, we got the Ark of the Covenant from Israel. Let's throw it in here with Dagon. It's a spiritual piece of furniture. We might as well put it in the temple. Well, when the people of Ashdod rose early the next day, there was Dagon fallen on his face on the ground before the Ark of the Lord. Wait a minute. So the pagan idol Dagon, his little statue thing just falls over, right? The Ark shows up. Dagon falls over. Well, okay, they took Dagon and they put him back in his place. Come on, get up. But the following morning they rose, and there was Dagon fallen on his face on the ground before the Ark of the Lord. Well, who keeps pushing Dagon over? What's going on? His head and his hand had been broken off and were lying on the threshold. Only his body remained. So now their idol, their statue, has been damaged in the last fall. In fact, he's been decapitated. His hands are gone. That's why to this day, neither the priests of Dagon nor any others who enter Dagon's temple at Ashdod step on the threshold, because part of his pieces were on the threshold. They now have a superstitious response that says they shouldn't step there. Well, the Lord's hand was heavy upon the people of Ashdod and its vicinity. There you go. God is defending himself. What does he do? Well, he brought devastation upon them and afflicted them with tumors. Okay. So you guys think Dagon's just falling down because we didn't stand him up well enough? Well, no, it's because in the presence of Almighty God, there's nothing that's going to stand. He is all-powerful. And he's going to teach the Philistines a lesson that they're not dealing with just another idol. They're dealing with reality, the God who is, the God who was, the God who will forevermore be. And what does he do? Well, he brings devastation. All of a sudden, the people in Ashdod start having these tumors. And when the men of Ashdod saw what was happening, they said, the Ark of God of Israel must not stay here with us, because his hand is heavy upon us and upon Dagon, our God. In other words, our God can't compete. We got all these tumors. We got to get rid of this ark. So they called together all the rulers of the Philistines and asked them, what shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel? And they answered, well, have the ark of the God of Israel moved to Gath. That's another Philistine town. So they moved the ark of the God of Israel. All right, let's just get it out of here. But after they had moved it, the Lord's hand was against that city, throwing it into great panic. Wow. He afflicted the people of the city, both young and old, with an outbreak of tumors. So tumors are happening everywhere the ark goes. So they sent the ark of God to Ekron. That's another Philistine city. As the ark of God was entering Ekron, the people of Ekron cried out, They have brought the ark of the God of Israel around to us to kill us and our people. So now the reputation of the ark is well known, and when the people of Ekron see the ark show up, they're panicked. Okay, so they called together all the rulers of the Philistines and said, look, send the ark of the God of Israel away. All right, this is a power we don't understand. This is a power that's not like Dagon, our pagan idol. This is a power that's real. And we're all sick, and we're all suffering, and we shouldn't have this thing here. Let's get it out of here. Let it go back to its own place. You see what they say? Or it will kill us and our people. For death had filled the city with panic. God's hand was very heavy upon it. Who's doing the attacking here? God himself is defending himself. Does he need those Israelites that made such a huge mistake that got the ark captured in the first place? Does he need them to rescue the ark? No, he's in the middle of the rescue himself. He's creating the circumstance that's going to assure that his ark goes back where he wants it. Those who did not die were afflicted with tumors, and the outcry of the city went up to heaven. In other words, they start praying to the real God. They need relief. When the ark of the Lord had been in Philistine territory 7 months, the Philistines called for the priests and the diviners and said, what shall we do with the ark of the Lord? Notice the change in address. It's no longer the God of the Israelites. Now they're calling this the ark of the Lord. Tell us how we should send it back to its place. We believe the power of the God who owns this ark. They answered, if you return the ark of the God of Israel, do not send it away empty, but by all means send a guilt offering to him. Then you will be healed, and you will know why his hand has not been lifted from you. The Philistines asked, what guilt offering should we send to him? And they replied, I want you to send 5 gold tumors and 5 gold rats. Why? Well, we'll see in a minute. Tumors and rats were the things that were causing so much death in the community. According to the number of the Philistine rulers, there was 5 cities that will get listed here in just a second. And so for each ruler, they're going to send a gold tumor and a gold rat to try to appease the God of Israel to stop him from killing them all. Because the same plague has struck both you and your rulers. All right, so this is our solution. Well, make models of the tumors and of the rats that are destroying the country and pay honor to Israel's God. Perhaps he will lift his hand from you and your gods in your land. Isn't that interesting? The pagan idolatry has come to the place where they understand that God is the one that is causing their death, and they are trying to get away from his judgment. Okay, why do you harden your hearts as the Egyptians and Pharaoh did when he treated them harshly? Did they not send the Israelites out so they could go on their way? Verse 6 is a fascinating verse. If you think about it, what's happening here? They know God delivered Israel from Egypt. They know these people crossed the Red Sea on dry ground. These people have been delivered by God into the land they occupy now. They remember the story. All right? And what's the plea in verse 6? Don't be like those Egyptians that kept holding on to the Israelites until they were destroyed. Let's get this ark out of here. Now, then, get a new cart ready with 2 cows and that have calved and have never been yoked. Hitch the cows to the cart, but take their calves away and pin them up. Take the ark of the Lord and put it on the cart, and in a chest beside it, put the gold objects you are sending back to him as a guilt offering. Send it on its way. So now we're going to have 2 cows pulling a cart that's basically leaderless. But keep watching it. If it goes up to its own territory toward Beth Shemesh, then the Lord has brought this great disaster on us. But if it does not, then we will know that it was not his hand that struck us and that it happened to us by chance. So let's watch where these cows go If they go home where the ark should be, then we'll know it was God that brought all this disaster on us. So they did this. They took 2 such cows and hitched them up to the cart and penned up their calves. All right. They placed the ark of the Lord on the cart along with its chest containing the gold rats and the models of the tumors. Then the cows went straight up toward Beth Shemesh, keeping on the road and lowing all the way. They did not turn to the right or to the left. The rulers of the Philistines followed them as far as the border of Beth Shemesh. And now the people of Beth Shemesh were harvesting their wheat in the valley. And when they looked up and saw the ark, they rejoiced at the sight. Here it comes. God has brought this home. The cart came to the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh, and there it stopped beside a large rock. The people chopped up the wood of the cart and sacrificed the cows as a burnt offering to the Lord. The Levites took down the ark of the Lord together with the chest containing the gold objects and placed them on a large rock. On that day, the people of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings and made sacrifices to the Lord. The 5 rulers of the Philistines saw all this, and they returned the same day to Ekron. What are they thinking? Well, they're thinking it was God that punished us for having that ark. He was the one responsible for all the death and destruction by us holding on to that ark. He's real. These are the gold tumors the Philistines sent as a guilt offering to the Lord, 1 each for, and here's the 5 cities of the Philistines: Ashdod, Gaza, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. We'll look more into that as we go through the book. And the number of the gold rats was according to the number of Philistine towns belonging to the 5 rulers, the fortified towns with their country villages. The large rock on which they set the ark of the Lord is a witness to this day in the field of Joshua of Beth Shemesh. So what do we see? God has rescued his ark himself. No military intervention, no help from any of the people. He just brought so much suffering on those that were holding the ark that they relinquished it, and they saw for themselves that the ark went right back where it was supposed to be. And that meant God had caused the trouble. Okay, God doesn't need anybody's help. But God struck down some of the men of Beth Shemesh. Whoa, what? So God now is causing death among the Israelites who received the ark at Beth Shemesh. He struck down some of the men at Beth Shemesh, putting what? He put 70 of them to death. Why? Because they had looked into the ark of the Lord. They violated the procedures required by God in how to treat the ark. God killed them. So, very interesting little point here. God brings death to whoever disobeys his pattern, his structure, his command, whether it's an Israelite or a Philistine. Mess around with what God says he wants done with the Ark of the Covenant and die. Here they are. They looked into it. 70 of them died. The people mourned because of the heavy blow the Lord had dealt them. And the men of Beth Shemesh asked, who can stand in the presence of the Lord, this holy God? That is a great question. They have experienced his power firsthand. To whom will the ark go up from here? Who can stand? If God moves against us, there's no relief. There's no place to go. And so let's make the same decision the Philistines made. How are we going to get this ark out of here? And they sent messengers to the people of Kiriath Jearim, saying, the Philistines have returned the ark of the Lord. Come down and take it up to your place. That's where we end today in the saga. But just understand, God is all powerful. God doesn't need our help. Oh, he might involve us. I mean, he used Hannah to bring Samuel into existence, who's now going to be the prophet that brings Israel back into line with what God requires, or at least does a little bit of a turn. They won't come back into line completely. But in the end, God uses us, but God doesn't need us. If God decides to do something, he'll do it all by himself, as we see in these last 2 chapters. It's a fascinating study in the power, character, holiness of God. And anybody that violates his direction ends up dying. Well, this is the God we serve. How should we respond? Let's obey him with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength out of love. That's how we should respond today. God bless you, church. Serve him well.
Who is it who for sinners shed his blood, and now for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood? It's Jesus. But do you know who he is? He's the image of the invisible God, and he's the brightness of his glory, the first, the last, the future, the past. He is God.